In this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to solve the problem in the proficiency exam. The number one step to solve a problem is understand the problem. Most of the folks like to, whenever you get the problem, you like to sit in front of the computer and start working as soon as possible. And that's not a good way to solve a problem. In order to solve it, you need to have a good understanding of the problem first. Now I'm going to go through, a sample problem a little bit later. And before I work on that, I'd like to show you, what would be needed to have the problem solved. One very, very important step that we need to have is to have a modular design. This is essentially the idea of, we say, divide and conquer or whatever. Is we need to make the problem decompose the big problem into smaller pieces so that we can have the problem solved. And essentially, I would view this as two parts. The first part that we have is we need to come up with the correct classes for representing the data that we need, that's needed in the program. For example, we need to come up with, some classes. And these classes, what type of attribute we need for each class. And we would have, some getters and setters in these classes so that we can access these attributes. The third thing was we need to have some basic operations based on the attributes in this class. The second one is we would have some classes, and these classes are used to handle inter-class business logic. Okay, we are going to have example. Now I'm going to show you. We have some classes that are really just for representing data, and we'll have some other classes for handling inter-class business logic. The next thing that we need to worry about is input, and then most likely nowadays we can use the scanner class to handle all the input for proficiency exam. And output would be very, very easy also. All you have to do is you take a look at the print writer class, that's built in Java. Okay. And then the next thing that you need to keep in mind is you need to understand some basic data structures. And you need to understand how to use loops, how to do basic sorting. Now we are going to use the examples a little bit later to demonstrate the use of data structure, the use of basic control structure, the use of sorting. Okay. At the same time, I will show you, the class design, how could we do input and output. Okay. Okay, now let's look at the problem first. This is the problem from spring 2010, and let's look at the problem statement. This one talks about a company that essentially sells computer parts, and what you need to handle is you need to handle information that is stored in 3 files. Okay. And the first one is customers.txt. This one contains the information about customers. That's the customer ID, the name of the customer, okay, and whether or not the customer is eligible for discount or not. And here, the problem is pretty, simple here. It says, if it is yes, then the customer will receive 10% discount in an order, or if the customer is not ineligible, then the 10% will not be applicable to this customer. And also it says the customer is eligible for discount, then 10% discount applies to all orders made by this customer. Okay. The second thing is product. And the product, has product ID, has product names, and they have product price. And when you read these, you see the problem has been simplified to make sure that the product ID is only contains 3 digits, and the product name does not have any blank space in between. This will help you to handle the input a little bit easier. The next thing that you need to handle is called orders, and this keeps track of order information at the store, and the order is represented by the customer ID, the product ID, and the quantity. Okay. If you look at these 3, okay, and the customer's information, and you have the product information, and then you have the orders information that combines, okay, something from the customer ID, and you have product. And if you think about this is very like the information that you would store into the database. And this customer ID and this product ID in the orders file, essentially they are the foreign keys to the information stored in the customer and the product table. If you view this as a database, okay, so you have the association problem that you need to solve. And here you have a little bit of assumptions, okay, and then you need to look at what you need to solve. Okay, here you say what you need to do is to read the information from the files and output a detailed order information list and order summary. So 2 pieces of things that you need to produce. The detailed order information should consist of the customer's name, product name, price, quantity, order amount, and discount amount. The list of the detailed order information should be consistent in the same order with the list in order.txt, so you are not going to change the order. And then the information should be displayed on the screen and be written into a file they call order_detail.txt. This is what you need to do for the output. Okay, so you need to pay attention to all these details. And the second thing that you need to do is the program should generate an order summary. Each entry in the summary should consist of the customer's name, the total order amount, and the entry should be displayed on the screen. Descending order, take a look at this, the descending order. Okay, based on the total order amount, the entries should also be written to a file that order summary.txt. And here, if you continue to look, you look at, this is an example. And we have the customer.txt, we have product.txt, we have orders.txt based on this. And this is the result that you need to have. And based on this, you can understand, what does that mean. And you have the orders, and essentially, you look at this, this information corresponds to the information, the order detail, but with all we see the customer's information, okay, and product information, so that you know that this order essentially is made by Austin, whose ID is 3852. Just look at this. Here I have Austin, and the order is on product 188. And if you look at 188, it is about printer, and you see the price is $200. And look at Austin, it is eligible for discount, and you see the discount essentially would be 10%, and you have the unit price 200 and quantity is 2, that overall would be 400, and the discount would be 400 times 10%. You get $40 discount here. And the order amount will be 360, because 400 minus 40 is 360. And so on, you can get all the order details information, and based on that, you for all the orders, you are going to add them together, and then you are going to sort the information, and you can generate the order summary. So essentially, this is what you need to do. So it's very, very important for you to understand what is the problem, what are the requirements that you need to accomplish. This is a very, very important step. And based on this, we should be able to start, design the program. And but we will keep this window open, and we will go back and forth from the programming part to the problem statement part, because as I said, it's very, very important for you to understand what's going on here. Okay, now let's look at the programming part. I'm going to use Eclipse to do the programming development, and Eclipse is very, very useful programming IDE, and here I'm using Java to solve the problem. And I've definitely, if you are not very, very familiar with Java, I would suggest you to have a hard copy textbook in Java textbook handy, so that you can use the textbook as a reference. Okay, there are tons of good reference books you can get from the library, or get one copy from your friend. So now let's try to start it with a Java project. A Java project is a way for you to organize a program that may need several classes to work together. Here, this is the project name that I like to have. Essentially here I call this as a store manager. So essentially this try to process information for this store. I call this store manager, and then I continue, and I'm going to finish. The first thing that I like to figure out is what type of classes I need to have for this problem. And if you look at these, definitely very, very easy thing to do is I do need to have customer information. I do need to have product information. I need to have the order information. So the first thing that I need to do is I will create one class for each piece of the information that I need to handle here. Okay. So let's get back here. What I need to do is I first create a class that's called customer. Okay. And so in this customer, what I need to have? I have the customer's ID. Okay, I have the customer's name. And let's take a look. We also have whether or not it is eligible for discount. So that's a yes or no. So let's just do through a boolean. So this is eligible. Okay. So these are the three pieces of information that I need to have. So what I need to do is I'm going to generate the getter and setters, and this is very, very useful feature for to use Eclipse. And I'm going to generate getter setters for each of the attribute here. Then I'm going to generate essentially the constructors. I'm going to do constructors. You click on source, and then you are able to